If we don't have any children, it's gonna have to wing it.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. My name is Dave Sanders, and I will be your worship associate today. In honor of our historical roots of this land, I want to acknowledge that we are on the land of the Eastern Band of Cherokee and Southern Iroquois. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, wherever you were born, whatever language you speak, you are welcome here. Whatever your skin color, whatever your class background, whatever your range of abilities, you are welcome here. We are so glad that you chose our fellowship as your place of worship this morning. We come together for a worship in order to slow down our minds and listen for the callings of our hearts, our spirits. We come together for worship so that we can be reminded of our highest aspirations and continue to transform ourselves into our best selves. If you're joining for the first time, welcome. After the service, we gather for coffee and social connection in our social room on the other end of the building. Please join us. If you're interested in receiving our weekly newsletter so that you can get connected to our community, our weekly sharing of joys and concerns, and our collective efforts to support local social justice, please reach out to the office by email on our website. And I also want to extend a special welcome to our visitors. If you would like, I invite you to stand as you are willing and able and introduce yourself. Any visitors? Okay. Finally, I want to extend a special welcome to our online viewers. Thank you for connecting with us virtually. We have some announcements today. The South Carolina Unitarian Universalist Justice Alliance, which forms the acronym SCUJA, invites members from all South Carolina congregations to participate in Jubilee 3 anti-racism training. This will be held via Zoom April 12th through 14th. A registration is required and there is a fee. Full scholarships are available, so please inquire with me or Reverend Holly if you have questions about that. Another announcement I want to call to your attention is next week. 1 week from today, we will have an installation service for Reverend Holly. It will be in the afternoon, and it's a big deal. If you haven't RSVP'd already, it might be too late. But you can maybe talk with me or Reverend Holly afterwards if you have not RSVP'd and you want to inquire about that possibility. But to support the logistics of the installation service regarding hospitality and dishwashing logistics, we will not have hospitality at the morning service on the 17th to enable us to do the logistical setup for the afternoon. There are a large number of other announcements on the back of your order of service. I will not read them all, but I will call your attention to them now, and please note those as you are able. Now we'll have some opening words from Reverend Holly.
Thank you. And I just want to start by saying welcome. And I am so excited to see so many of you, even with the time change. Yay. We all made it at the right time. So our opening words this morning come from Reinhold Niebuhr and his piece on the irony of American history. His words are these: "Nothing that is worth doing can be achieved in our lifetime. Therefore, we must be saved by hope. Nothing which is true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we must be saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we must be saved by love. No virtuous act, quite as virtuous from the standpoint of our friend or foe as it is from our standpoint. Therefore, we must be saved by the final form of love, which is forgiveness. Come, let us worship together this morning. And you are invited to rise in body or in spirit, whatever way is comfortable for you, to join in singing our opening hymn, number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness.
And as we prepare to enter our service, I invite Talia to come and light our chalice for us. And as she lights the chalice, I invite you to share with me the words of affirmation that is shared in our order of service. Together, we gather together in a spirit of love, this justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth with freedom, and to care for one another. And now we have our time for all ages, and I'll invite Karen to come up and present.
And actually, I'm going to give Talia a little bit of workout. So Talia, Aurelia, could you guys come up and give me a hand again this morning? This morning, okay. Wait, what? This morning, we're going to be talking about hope. And what I have to share with you this morning is about hope and imagination. And we're going to be leaning pretty hard into both of those terms this morning. Because as Talia has already noticed, these are supposed to be acorns. But it's March. You can't get acorns in March.
Yes, you can.
Well, I tried. I actually was going to go out in my backyard and look, but I think the squirrels got them all.
There are millions at my school.
And I tried to look out on our back patio, but the woodchuck decided I didn't need to be out there. So I didn't argue with the woodchuck, because he's big. So we're going to talk about some really powerful concepts today. Hope and imagination.
They actually feel like acorns.
They do feel. Okay, so they are plastic. So that's where the imagination comes in. You're going to have to pretend that they're really actual acorns. And could you guys take the basket and see if anybody else maybe wants to have an acorn for this? So, hope. So I'm going to begin by asking a question. There's not a lot of them, so. Yeah. Have you ever hoped for something? And did the thing you hoped for happen? Anybody? Sometimes. Yep. Anybody else? Sometimes? No? There's always an Eeyore in every crowd. I think that hope is kind of like those acorns. And remember, we're using our imagination. These are actual real acorns now.
Are the cats real? Because they feel real.
They do feel real. It's really good craftsmanship there. So if you have your acorn, or your imaginary acorn, what do you think the acorn hopes to be someday?
A tree.
A tree, yes.
A big tree.
A big tree, a big oak tree, right? So here's why the acorns can remind us of hope. If I just dropped an acorn on the floor and walked away, would it have any hope of becoming that tree? Not much, right? No, not much. What would it need to become?
Soil, water, sun, and food.
Soil, water, sun, and food. Very good. Yes. So, like acorns, our hopes need other things in order to come to life. So first we start with our imaginations, and we're already giving those a workout this morning, right? Because we're imagining these little things are actual acorns. We imagine the thing we're hoping for. So if you have an acorn, take a moment and close your eyes and imagine something that you hope for. Or imagine you have an acorn in your hands and take a moment and imagine something that you hope for. Your hopes are like that acorn. They just need a little work, a little care, a little action, a lot of care, that's right. A lot of help sometimes too, and luck to ever really come to life. Just like that acorn can become an oak tree. And another important question. Could you ever have an oak tree without first having that acorn? No. No. The same way every great thing anyone's ever done began with hope, with someone's imagination of what could be, what could happen, plus action to help it grow to life. And that is the power of hope. And thank you, girls. Yes, you may keep it.
Thank you, Karen. And this is the time that we set aside in our service for the offering in order to give toward the financial vitality of this community. Also, 25% of the weekly collection each week goes to a partner organization in our local community. And this month, for the month of March, it is Clemson Community Care. For those of you at home, you can go to the UUFC website and use the donate button. There you will see options for paying your pledge and donating towards the organizations that we partner with as well. In addition, we collect food every Sunday for the local community, Clemson Community Care also. So they also receive food from us on a regular basis. So our youth and the young at heart will be going around and collecting food while our ushers will be passing the plate.
Thank you for your generosity. It is your gifts that help make the work and the ministry of this congregation possible. And it is also in that spirit that each week we share of our joys and our sorrows together. It is a time of sacred sharing of what remains spoken out loud or quiet and tender upon our hearts each week. It is a way to know, to be reminded that we are not alone. And as I read out each of these joys and concerns, I ask Dave to place a stone into this vessel representing our shared community. Have a joy from Andy Nelson of going to Clemson Elementary yesterday for their international festival, Kids from Every Country. Yes, thank you. And have a joy from Way of a beautiful spring, and with it, mushroom hunting season. His dad, Tenfu, will be back from his morale adventures, thank you, in a few weeks. Thank you. All right. And then a joy and a concern from Alan Goldsmith. Many thanks to Victor Young for setting wheels in motion for UUFC men's group, and to all the men who have contributed to its successful start. There's still room for others to join. And a concern that South Carolina has just become yet another state to allow the open carry of guns. If people think more guns will make us safer, the United States, already awash in civilian firearms, should be the safest country in the world. Yet, among the most developed nations, we are the least safe when it comes to gun violence. Yeah. And Sarah Summers shares a joy for wonderful circle dinners hosted by Holly Ulbrich. And we add one more stone to this shared vessel, representing all of those joys and concerns that remain quiet and tender upon our hearts this morning. You are now invited in joining in singing our children along their way to their religious education this morning with Go Now in Peace. Well, y'all, it is a really good thing that I also have the reading printed out here this morning because my text decided to disappear on my screen for a second for my tablet. But it's come back. We'll use that in a minute. We have a couple of readings this morning. I'm going to share one, and then Dave will share one that's kind of a response to each other. These are both from Sean Parker Dennison. And this is a letter to our better angels. Dear angels, it seems important to begin by making it clear that we are not talking about celestial winged beings. This letter instead is addressed to our better selves, the people we hope we will be when necessary. We might also note that we more often excel at our self-appointed role as advocate for the devil, a requisite position that is also, if you ask us, not literal, but theoretical, and therefore without consequence. We are writing to let you know that we feel your presence insufficient and unpredictable, and when we inquire about how to make you more dependable, we are offended by and opposed to the level of accountability required. We are hoping to make arrangements for an increase in percentage of goodness and presence of admirable qualities in ourselves and in others, especially in others. We respectfully request that this come easily and with immediate delivery, a dependable warranty, and at no extra cost. We would be even more pleased if it could be arranged for us to become better people without needing to change or to consider any needs but our own. It would also please us if our status as increasingly good could be noted in some way, perhaps a cookie or a badge or a halo, so long as it's comfortable. We hope that you will consider our request as soon as humanly possible, not in angel time. We've already waited a long time, unaware of the seriousness of the situation. This despair to our reputation, please expedite our request. We have only just noticed that the world is ending. Sincerely, us.
Now I will read to you a letter from our better angels in response to the letter you just heard. Dear one, we have received your letter, and we hate to tell you, well, not hate so much, but are a bit afraid to say, we cannot grant your requests as stated, but can only remind you of familiar things. First, faith. Faith in yourself and trust in others. We know it can be terrifying to be vulnerable, but only when you share your softest side will we be able to break through. Next, hope. Hope is not an empty fairy tale. It is the true story of all the times human beings like you have found a way to create the future, though you did not know how. And of course, love. Love that demands you cherish all people, not just yourself and your safety. Love that is not satisfied until every argument ends abruptly when one child says, "That hurts." There is so much to learn and relearn. The world teaches you to be hard, to negotiate and defend, to avoid giving too much and to the wrong people. There are no wrong people. You are also not wrong. And when you encounter the poor, the broken, the unhoused, and unwelcome, you are looking, if you pay attention, at us, calling to you to answer your own prayers. If you want to change the world, first, be sure you are changing yourself. Be tender, be kind, be at peace. Be all the things you wish for. Be your own better self. It isn't without cost, but it will be free.
We rise, humbly hearted rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to guide us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise. All of the children rise. Elders with wisdom rise. Ancestors surround us, rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope,
have to admit that's one of my favorite songs that I return to often. I even have it saved to my computer desktop. Have you ever had moments of feeling hopeless at any point in your life? Yeah. But what does it mean for us to have hope? During the Time for All Ages earlier, we heard about the hope found in the acorn, imaginary or real, and it turning into an oak tree. And there's another type of transformation that you'll see represented if you go down the hall for hospitality after the service. There's a bulletin board right next to the kitchen that gets changed out to match the monthly theme. And on it, in addition to an acorns and the tree, you will also see caterpillars and cocoons and butterflies, as well as multicolor leaves representing the transformation that can happen in nature. It reminds me to have hope when I see those kinds of transformation that can happen in nature, and how it can return and represent itself in unexpected ways. It gives me hope that the world can be a better place, that our lives can be better, or perhaps that of future generations. There's a quote that many years ago someone shared with me and ascribed it to an old Italian proverb, that hope is the last thing ever lost. To me, this suggests that even when the world seems to be on fire or in turmoil, which, let's face it, is a lot, it is that hopefulness that keeps us going as a species, and it is what calls us over and over again to keep showing up for one another, for our families, for social action and justice, because the work of liberation is a collective venture. Because we can't all be free until we recognize that that freedom is tied and bound to one another. It is hope that inspires us to change ourselves and to change the world, to create a world that is more filled with love and justice and hope. This week, as so many weeks, has brought more news of violence, wars and conflicts around the world, pain and loss in our own lives or communities, systems of inequity or of systems of oppression that are constantly filling the news. It seems overwhelming at times. I had my heart broken all over again with news this week of the death, the murder of Righteous Torrance Chevy Hill, a member of Atlanta's LGBTQ plus community. He was 35 years old. Lives coming to an end far too soon for whatever reason, whatever kind of violence. We can't turn a blind eye to what is going on in the world, even if we might want to bury our heads in the sand, even if we might want to ignore it, because it can be heartbreaking. It can fill us with a sense of hopelessness, especially when so many laws and things are being enacted that take away rights and create more injustice. But it is hope that takes us to do things like voting, to make a change through our democratic process, which can be hard because we've got to mobilize and encourage people to vote and make sure they're registered. It requires people showing up, helping to get the word out about issues that matter, issues that matter to us as Unitarian Universalists, whether it is reproductive justice or LGBTQIA rights or voting rights or disability justice or women's rights, racial justice, environmental justice, all of these things are linked. These rights are being stripped, and it could impact any of us at any moment in our lives. And that's pretty depressing. And so I thought, rather than talk about that anymore, I thought we should talk about hope and what keeps us going. What keeps us going in life and in the work of justice. Because hope is not lost if we are together. We are not in this alone. It's a reminder that we can support one another even when we are going through difficult times. Maybe that is showing up for work of social justice with UU the Vote and helping inspire people to go out, and whether that is sending postcards or calling people, making sure they are registered to vote in time to make their vote count. And you can take part in this. This congregation has had folks that take part in that. And you can learn more about that on the national level at the UU the Vote website. Or if you want to know about what the South Carolina UU Justice Alliance, also known as SCUJA, and Holly Ulbrich, as our chair of the Social Action Committee here at UUFC, can participate in that in this coming year. So something that we can actually see and do can give us hope. But I sometimes feel hopeless by our system, the electoral college, the allotment of votes and the way that is dispersed rather than each of our votes feeling like it counts when we talk about the national elections for president. However, the system we have is what we have to work with until we can change that system. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to keep working on it, keep showing up, and keep trying to change it. Keep holding our elected officials accountable, whether it is writing them or calling them or showing up on their doorstep. And by that I mean the Capitol, although I've been known to show up at other places too. Change happens slowly sometimes, and that can be difficult. It can be hard to hold on to hope. But it reminds me of the quote that I shared early in the service from Reinhold Niebuhr. Nothing that is worth doing can be achieved in our lifetime. Therefore, we must be saved by hope. It is hope. It is the understanding of us working together that can keep us going. But what about what we can do on a daily basis or on a regular basis when we need it to remind us of hope? Has anybody here ever watched a TED Talk? A few of you? Well, there are these opportunities for people at universities to present a topic, and they can be long or short in a variety of different topics. And this particular one that I watched explained how we can retrain our brain. Have you ever tried to do that? So the way they outline it was that if you think about things that you're grateful for every day, it can help realign or shift your thoughts about the world for being more grateful. And so I decided that I would try it. What could it hurt, right? So I don't know about you, but I sometimes get caught up in doing things the way I think I should be doing them. And in this case, I thought that I needed to identify something different every single day and come up with 3 unique things every single day that I was grateful for. And then I realized that every single day is a new day and that it doesn't have to be different from yesterday. Maybe it is that the sun is shining, or maybe it's that it is raining and re-nourishing our planet, helping those acorns grow into trees. Maybe it was being able to go on a walk or a hike or spend time with friends or family. It became easier the more that I did it. It helped shift my mindset and my understanding of the world. And so I would like to invite you into a practice like this, whether it is just for a moment while we are here today or something that you can return to for days or weeks or just when you need it. And so a couple of things that I came up with that give me hope as a way of reframing that, gratitude can be part of that for sure, is that it gives me hope that this congregation exists in upstate South Carolina, and nature continues to give me hope. In the last few weeks, I was hiking in the Clemson experimental forest, and I came across a cluster of downed trees. But they weren't flat on the ground. Instead, they were crossed and intersected, suspended above the ground. And below them was a group of newly sprouted daffodils. In this place that trees had ceased to live, there was new life budding just below it. And so, I'm wondering if Dave would grab this mic for me over here and turn it to unmute it. And are there any of you that maybe can think of something that gives you hope? And 1 or 2 of you, would you be willing to share something that gives you hope, whether today or in general? I'm going to put people on the spot. So if you need a second, Dave, we have Garrett over here.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that I think that the fact that this Unitarian Fellowship exists gives me hope, especially here in South Carolina. I feel quite a bit at home here, and I'm really appreciative of that.
Thank you.
I already put this in my joy, but yesterday, being at Clemson Elementary, seeing kids in their native wear and their parents as well, and there had to be thousands there, and performing dances and martial arts, everything you could think of. It was just thrilling.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay.
It gives me hope when I see the cardinals, the blue jays, the crows, all the birds ripping up that $8 feed every week. But they're fun to watch, nevertheless.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll say something about choir. So, I mean, all my life I was kind of told, don't quit your day job when I sing. So I never sang in front of anyone, and I had a total fear. And so people in choir probably know, like, when I first started singing, I could barely, like, make a noise. And then Elaine, our choir director, has kind of, like, coaxed me and, like, given me solos. And so there's been a complete transformation on my part because of the support of, like, you and Elaine and the whole choir. They're like, oh no, you can sing, your voice is fine, don't be afraid to kind of like open your mouth and like make some sounds. And so it's been a complete transformation from total fear, paralyzing fear, to like no, I really enjoy singing in front of others. So yeah, thank you to the choir. Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
I don't know, the other week my friends and I were making pierogi, and my friends and I were just baking together, and we've all been going through a really rough time, but it was just really nice to, like, we were all there for each other, and it was nice. Yeah, that was it.
right. Thank you. And thank you for those that have shared this morning. And I want to encourage you to continue to share with one another during social time or any time that it feels helpful to remind one another of what brings you hope. So another practice that I was encouraged to do by a therapist a few years after having watched this TED Talk was that of a mindfulness practice to help reground myself in moments that I needed to disrupt depression or anxiety. And the way they encouraged me to do this was paying attention to all of my senses, my sight, touch, hearing, taste, and smell. Although I found some of them more challenging than others, especially taste. That one, I had trouble getting my brain to like connect to what that would be unless I put something in my mouth. Although then I realized that there's usually some lingering something, whether it's kind of the lingering effects of toothpaste or coffee or something like that, that have a strong lingering effect. But I'd like to invite you into this practice for a moment. To look around or to close your eyes and look within. What do you notice? Maybe it's the flame of the chalice, the person in front of you, or a bird or a plant out the window. Listen. What do you hear? My voice, of course. But what about your own breath? The rustling of papers as somebody moves. What do you feel? Perhaps your chair or the floor beneath you. The way your clothes rub up against your skin as you move. What do you smell? Maybe a perfume or soap or laundry detergent on yourself or someone close to you. Finally, the hard one. Do you taste anything? These are practices that we can return to when we need to re-ground ourselves, when we need to feel connected to the earth around us, when we need to feel connected to those nearest to us, when we need to be reminded that hope isn't lost. There are still all of these things going on around us and within us. Earlier in the service, you heard a hymn, and then as I noted a little while ago, one of my favorite songs. Has anybody here noticed how I sign my emails? May you be well. That is part of that hymn we sang earlier, filled with loving kindness. May you be well. It is a reminder to me to share that with each and every one of you every single time I send an email. And the way that song is organized reminds me to think of myself first, but then it reminds me to move beyond my own well-being, to your well-being, then to our collective, our well-being. And the songs that resonate for me don't necessarily resonate for everybody else. But I wonder, do you have a song, a chant, a hymn, whether it is a popular song, maybe one from earlier in your life or that has just been released, that helps remind you, gives you hope, or helps connect with what you are feeling in that moment at that time? Music can give us hope, whether we are the best singers or not, whether we sing so softly along with music or loudly in the car where nobody else can hear me. But it can give us hope. It can inspire us. Even on my worst days, one of these practices, sometimes it is just listening to music that I know well and jamming out. Or thinking about all of my senses, or for me, going on a hike and looking at all of the wonder that nature surrounds me with. And so I invite you to consider one or many of these practices when you need to have your hope replenished, when you need to be nourished, when the world feels like it is just too much. To stop and write down 3 things or think about 3 things that give you hope or that you're grateful for. To take a few moments to pay attention to all of your senses, what you hear, see, smell, feel, and or taste. Or find a song or songs that speak to you on a deep level, perhaps spiritually or emotionally nourishing when you need them. But these practices don't have to happen in a vacuum. They don't have to happen with you alone by yourself. They are also something that you can do in community to help remind one another. Maybe it's telling someone that you are grateful for them or that they give you hope. Maybe it's sharing a joy and concern about what gives you hope or why you need hope in that moment. May you find hope through mindfulness and attention to the world around us in order to create a more just and loving society that keeps us going. May we find hope for ourselves, for the future, and be hope-filled where we are in the present. And as I said before, this doesn't mean we lose sight of the bigger picture, but it does mean that we don't give up, because hope is the last thing ever lost. May we hold on to hope. May it be so. May we make it so. And blessed be. You are now invited to rise in body or in spirit, wherever you are, to join in singing There Is More Love Somewhere, number 95. For our closing words today, I want to reflect back briefly on some of the words from Sean Parker Dennison. Hope is not an empty fairy tale. It is the true story of all the times human beings like you have found a way to create the future, though you didn't know how. May you go in peace and return in love until we are together again.